The words of it and just the picture that it paints. You know, you hear the words, "O night divine, O night, O holy night." And it paints a picture of just beauty and awe in our minds. And it helps us to, be able to get a glimpse into how amazing that night really would have been. And it brings another perspective to the words of the great theologian Dr. Seuss, when he says, "It came without ribbons. It came without bows. It came without packages, boxes, or bags." Maybe Christmas, he thought, doesn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas, perhaps, means a little bit more. And you listen to the words of that song. You listen to the words of the songs that we've sung together tonight, or the ones that we've witnessed being sung, or the words of that story, that the baby came for every one of us, no matter how small. He came for each one of us. And that gives us a glimpse that Christmas really is about something very much more. So much more. And yet, I listen to the words of that song and it just kind of gives me this sense of beauty. But then I think back and I think, beauty is probably the last thing that first Christmas was. Amazing, awe-filled, incredible. But it wasn't a beautiful place to be able to be. It was very far from it. When the angel appeared to the shepherds, he told them that a Savior was going to be born. And then he said, "This will be a sign to you." This is going to be a way that you're going to find him and that you're going to recognize him. You'll find the baby born in a barn, wrapped in rags and lying in a feed trough. What a great picture. That's just not what you anticipate. And I think it's kind of funny when you go into somebody's house or you go into some of the stores or into different churches and you see these nativity sets. And they're so neat and clean. And the people have every hair in place and their clothes are finely pressed and it's a pristine environment. And the one thing that I can guarantee you is that an animal shelter in the Middle East 2,000 years ago was anything but neat and clean and pristine. When Mary found out that she was going to give birth to a baby in an animal barn, I'm sure that the last thing she thought was, great. That's not what you anticipate. It's not what you plan. It's not what you want. She wasn't thinking, oh, that'll be quaint. It'll make for neat little figurines 1,000 years from now, 2,000 years from now. She wasn't thinking that. She was thinking, are you serious? A barn with the animals? That's where I'm going to go? It was a messy place where Jesus was born. No one scoured it. No one made it sterile. It stunk. Just like barns stink. Sorry for you farmers, but they do. They stink. And that's what it would have been like. Not a place where you would expect a king to be born. But Jesus was no ordinary king. Jesus was intentionally born into a messy place because Jesus came for messy people living in a messy world. The King of the universe, the Son of God, was born in a barn, wrapped in rags, surrounded by animals, and entrusted to a poverty-stricken young couple. And that was all intentional. It was because Jesus came to help messy people who didn't have it all together, who their entire life wasn't planned out and it wasn't perfect. And it was because, as Jesus grew, he proved to us that there was no place that he wouldn't go. No thing that he wouldn't do. Nothing that would be too difficult or too much for him to bring God's love and God's peace and God's grace to anyone that would have him. Anyone that would listen. This will be a sign to you about Jesus. You will see God in messy places. And that is the good news for every one of us. Because our lives aren't perfect. And the world that we live in isn't perfect. And in fact, it just gets worse a little bit more all the time. The angel's message to the shepherds and to us is that here is the good news for you. God is not afraid of a mess. The God who was born in a stable will come into your life no matter how screwed up it is. No matter what you've done or no matter what's going on in it, if you'll just ask him. Too many people think that they've got to fix things up first. They've got to clean it out. Kind of like when you're getting ready for the cleaning people to come to your house. And you clean it first. There's just something that's mental about the way that we do that. And it is mental, by the way. You're paying people to do it. But it's just the way our minds work. And there's too many people that think, okay, and for me to be able to have a relationship with God, to invite Him into my life, I've got to get things cleaned up first. I've got to get them fixed. I've got to overcome this habit, get rid of that vice, clean out the junk, clean up my life, and then I can talk to God. Then I can look at inviting Him in. Then I can do something for Him. But the message of Christmas is it doesn't work that way. God wasn't content to just leave us in our mess and let us try to clean it up on our own, because He knew we couldn't do it. We could never do it on ourselves. So Jesus left heaven, and He came and He took on a human form. Born as a baby, wrapped in rags, to bridge the gap that existed between God and man, so that we could have a relationship with Him. He lived and He taught and He died on the cross for us. And during His life, He hung out with messed up people, and He loved them, and He taught them about a better way, His Father's way. A way that brings peace and joy in this life, and then it brings eternity to come. Life with God. That's the message of Christmas. And it's available to each and every one of us, if we'll just accept it. We're going to continue on singing tonight. I just want to encourage you, let the words wash over you, and allow God to connect with you with whatever's going on in your life. Invite Him in and receive His gift this Christmas.